Money FM 89.3, the best of Saturday mornings. Wide World on Money FM 89.3.
Stephen Herman is the new executive director of the Jordan Center for Journalism, Advocacy, and Innovation at the University of Mississippi. He previously served as the chief national correspondent for the Voice of America. He was the White House bureau chief for the VOA for nearly 5 years during Trump 1 and onward. He's been a Tokyo-based correspondent. He's lived in Thailand. He's been all over the place. And joining us now from Maryland, I believe. Is that where you are, Steve?
I'm in Virginia, actually.
Virginia, there you go. Hey, thanks for being with us today, Steve. And let's get started. First of all, congratulations on your new appointment to the University of Mississippi. That's a huge bump for that school. They're going to be turning out some amazing journalism students in the future.
Oh, they have many amazing journalism students. I'll be starting down there in July, and I'll be running, as you said, a new journalism institute, which is going to be focused on advocacy and innovation. So I think that's going to keep me busy for a long, long time.
Absolutely. And Steve, let's back up just a little bit. I do want to talk to you more about that new program that you're going to do, but we can't ignore news of the last few months. You were one of the early people to get fired from the Voice of America, and all of that has been happening in the Trump administration this time around. What's your take on the loss of Voice America to especially this part of the world that you know so well, where hundreds of millions of people tuned in every week to the VOA for news and information?
Yeah, point of clarification. I was not fired. I was placed on paid administrative leave about 2 weeks before all 1,350 of my colleagues at the Voice of America were put into a similar predicament. And as of the middle of March until now, Voice of America has been off the air. We had 50 languages, audience of about 340 million people weekly. There's a couple of dozen employees maybe that are working right now. It's sort of a token effort by the parent agency to try to demonstrate, I guess, that they haven't totally killed off the Voice of America. But there is essentially no broadcasting going on, and it does not look like they have any intention of reviving VOA, which is a shame after 83 years of continuous broadcasting, and arguably, as I've said, the best bang for the buck in terms of American public diplomacy or soft power.
Steve, thanks for the clarification on the administrative leave versus being fired, although arose by another name at this point. But do tell our listeners, those in this part of the world, in Southeast Asia, what the impact was of VOA. When you were based in Thailand, when you were based in different countries around the region. Why was it important? Was it important to this part of the world? Well,
the Voice of America is very careful about the language services in which it was broadcasting or the countries which it's trying to reach. If a country has a well-developed free press in a democracy, there's no need for the Voice of America. But when we were broadcasting to countries such as Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Burma, notably, Bangladesh. We also have had. It's tough for me to talk in the past tense about this, Neil and Glenn, as you might imagine. Tibetan, very neglected languages in terms of robust, sophisticated international broadcasting and free media. And I can tell you many times where I ran into listeners in Southeast Asia who said, if it hadn't been for a Voice of America broadcast, they wouldn't have heard about a cyclone heading their way, or if there was a big disaster, they got details about it, details about, epidemics or civil unrest, all sorts of things.
So it wasn't necessarily just propaganda, if we put it that way, U.S. propaganda. It was like real world information that was useful for people.
Well, we're prohibited by American law at the Voice of America of doing quote-unquote propaganda. We have to present a balanced representation of what's going on in the United States. It cannot be the voice of any one political party or any one president. And there's also a firewall. These are still laws on the books that separate Voice of America's journalistic content from even our parent agency or the rest of the administration. So the State Department or the Defense Department or an intelligence agency or whoever, the White House, cannot dictate what the Voice of America broadcasts. And for those who think it has a certain political leaning or, propaganda, I always say just go to the website and check out the stories. It's still all up there. It's frozen in time, voanews.com. But, you can make your own judgments about, what you think of the content and the quality and any perceived bias.
But it was from a soft power perspective, it was still a wonderful opportunity for the U.S. to help provide this invaluable media public service. What impact are you seeing, if any, so far, on that, on America's standing in these countries? Has it had a negative impact on America's soft power?
Well, Neil, I think just by the face of it going off the air without any explanation, I can tell you that in Africa, there were people trying to reach our reporters there because the broadcast, there was no longer live broadcasting, just a music loop tape. And people were inquiring whether there had been a coup in the United States. I think it'll be up to some academics to study what is the impact as far as loss of America's reputation or soft power. This has only happened a couple of months ago. We have some, how should I phrase it? Some indications that PRC and Russian broadcasters may be trying to move in on some of the frequencies that we were using.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising, obviously, and already in recent years we've seen China move to increase its soft power across the region. That's no surprise to anybody. Steve, look, I know you've talked to a lot of media over the past few months who have interviewed you on the state of Washington, and of course there is no love lost between you and Donald Trump from his first administration, where he often called you out specifically for your reporting. But what do you make of the journalistic environment that we're in right now? The left or center left is reporting what's happening. The center right or the right is very much cheerleading as you get on and look at those sources. Where do we go from here to try to get back, as you are taking on your new position at the University of Mississippi, to something that is more balanced and just represents more of what's actually happening in the world and not what certain interest groups would like to have happen?
Yeah, you point out what is the situation with the U.S. media to a great degree, Glenn. And I noticed this after 25 years in Asia when I came back in 2016, not only how polarized people were politically, but also the media itself. The bottom seemed to have fallen out. And, there are commercial reasons for broadcasters doing that. They're in the business to make money. There are public broadcasters, although they're imperiled because funding is being cut by the U.S. government to them because there's also the administration does not perceive them to, quote unquote, be on their side. But, the purpose of the free press in the United States since its inception is to call truth to power. And no president likes being admonished by the press, but it serves a very, very valuable role in our society and always has. I think what may be important and what I'm hoping to try to do at the University of Mississippi at the Jordan Center for Journalism, Advocacy, and Innovation is maybe to create something where we can help people find objective, unbiased media. That's something I hear a lot. There's all this stuff coming at you on social media. The algorithms are serving up things to you on YouTube. If you're trying to find objective sources of news, it can be very, very difficult. So, maybe we need to have some sort of guide or certification about, pointing people towards media outlets that have a track record of being factual and free of certain outside influences, whether they be from political parties or foreign governments. I think that may be a good starting point.
Stephen, it may seem like a simple question, but why? Why is the Trump administration doing this to Voice of America and other media outlets? What is its official reason, and what is it hoping to achieve?
Well, I can tell you what has been stated. What the real reason is, I can't read the minds of the president or the officials around him. To some degree, I think Voice of America was a victim of the chainsaw approach by Elon Musk, the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Just go in and break things, and if there's something absolutely vital, we can perhaps bring it back. I've heard it said that perhaps what was being done to VOA would serve as a warning that, hey, here is a reputable, important media institution. It's an external broadcaster. We do not target the United States. Our audiences were not domestic. And there have been threats, of course, made by the president and others in his administration, including the Federal Communications Commission, the chairman, Brendan Carr, against some of the top commercial broadcast networks in the state. Where this is all heading, I don't know. We do see, in the case of the Voice of America, there are two lawsuits with plaintiffs from the Voice of America filed against our parent agency. We've had some steps forward and some setbacks in federal court. So, there's still some optimism there that the judiciary will push back on what we believe to be executive power overreach amid what is general silence from the legislative branch, the U.S. Congress, which allocated these monies, and under federal law, the executive branch can't really deviate and shut all this down. That's our contention in federal court, and we'll see if we're ultimately victorious on this. But obviously, we're caught up in what is a much wider battle between the current administration and major media in the United States.
Steve, thanks for that. And we know that this administration is highly into many legal cases on a wide variety of fronts to see who will win some of these issues, and that the FCC and some of these broadcasting issues are just one. Let's close off the conversation talking a little bit more about what you touched on with your new executive director position at the Jordan Center at the University of Mississippi. You talked about having sources of information that people can go to, and that reminds me of the Associated Press bias and reliability chart, and it shows the different news organizations and who's on the left, who's on the center, who's on the right. Is that the kind of resource that you think would be useful in the future for people who are trying to find sources of news? And what else do you hope to accomplish at the center in your new role? Will you be teaching courses as well?
No, not immediately. I won't be teaching any courses. I want to be able to really figure out what should be our priorities in terms of advocacy and working towards journalism innovation in the 21st century. I think everybody agrees that the model is broken, and just planning to rely on philanthropists may not be a workable solution for every media outlet. I think we need to go beyond just sort of designating who's on the left or the center or the right, because that in itself, you can be accused of your own political biases in setting up those charts. I think we need more to rely on analyzing the content of these different media outlets and saying, okay, this is 80% journalism and only 20% opinion, or 95% of fact, or it's straightforward without all of the name calling that we see. That's a problem. There's a lot of what I would call a provocative language that's being used, and a sort of a gray line between journalism and editorialization. I think, look, their advocacy journalism has a place, right? Where, if you're writing about environmental destruction, about freeing prisoners who were unfairly convicted. There's some journalism, prison project journalism, that specializes in that. Journalism is a big basket. But I think what most people are concerned about is, hey, I just want to know what's really going on. I want to know the facts. Point me to a place where I can get this information. Well, there's not obviously just one media entity, whether it's in the United States or the world. There are a number who do what I think are pretty impressive jobs, including the BBC. And that's another thing that we've seen in the United States. We have more of the of outside broadcasters, the BBC, coming into the United States, the Guardian newspaper, others, Daily Mail, I know, although it seems a little sensationalistic to some folks. But maybe that's more of what we need. We need more of the world focusing on what's going on in the United States. And, I really appreciate when I see the perspectives that come from the, Straits Times or the Japan Times, Korea Herald, or some of the Indian newspapers about what's happening in the United States, not to mention, of course, the British newspapers as well. It helps give you a little bit different perspective.
Yeah, good point. And certainly more news is better than less news when we're trying to make up our minds about different stories. Steve, we do have to leave it there. Thanks so much for being with us today. My
pleasure, Glenn.
Yeah.
Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, we look forward to hearing more from you and your new role as the Executive Director of the Jordan Center for Journalism, Advocacy, and Innovation at Ole Miss. And have fun watching Southeast Conference football. That'll be fun.
Oh, it is huge in Oxford, Mississippi. The home games, I don't know if you can even get a room.
All right.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Literally none.
I'll explain it to you later. Anyway.
Glenn, you can explain it.
Yeah, I will. Thanks, Steve. Have a great day.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.